Hi, welcome to Sincerely Carolina, where we have conversations with local and international guests about current social issues to create awareness based on expertise and factual information. Remember, you can win fun prizes by participating in the weekly Learn and Win Wednesday quizzes on my Instagram. Sincerely Carolina is powered by Proframe Aruba, Neutrogena, and Febreze. Hello, happy Monday. Welcome to Sincerely Carolina. My name is Carolina and I am the host of this podcast. Welcome. I hope you had a nice weekend. I hope that you got to relax, do whatever you had to do. Oh, it was Black Friday and Thanksgiving. So anyways, hope you ate some good food and got some awesome deals. And for those of you shopping today, like I did, I hope you got some awesome deals online as well. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you to Sopi Studio for allowing me to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and also thank you to my awesome sponsors, to Proframe Aruba, Neutrogena, and Febreze. Thank you so much. So just so you know, you might see some movement at some point because it's raining here in Aruba, which is not normal, but it has been happening a lot. So anyways, there's traffic. So one of our guests is on her way, so we will let you know when she gets here because we will do some movement. By the way, we are live, so you can ask questions on Sopi Studios Facebook, and if you ask questions on the YouTube, we will try to answer tomorrow or some other day. But let us know if you have questions. Okay, so I have a co-host today. Oh my gosh, yes. So I don't know if y'all remember, for my birthday, I did like birthdays giveaways, and then I allowed people to come up with topics, and they would be able to co-host. And we really haven't had those episodes quite yet, or they have been like spread around because it's a little hard actually organizing some stuff when it's not like in my regular schedule. But I am so happy that we are able to do this episode today. So Nurianne is going to be my co-host, and I am gonna let her introduce herself first. Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for inviting me to co-host with you. I'm a fan, so I love having conversations about important things.
Yes.
And especially health conditions. You know, that's what I mostly advocate for.
Yes.
I work as a lecturer at the university, so most of the time you're not only advocating for education, but also for self-growth, self-care, self-love, and self-everything. That is good for the development and for your own health. So I'm very happy to be here, and maybe you will see it. I have my blue circle on.
Yes, I saw it.
Blue November for diabetes, and it was also Blue November for autism this month, right?
No.
November or October?
November is epilepsy.
It was epilepsy. Okay.
Yes,
I had
yes.
So many things going on.
Awesome.
I try to follow everything.
I know.
It's so much.
It is.
It's important to advocate for everybody. So that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Nicole just got here, so she will be like coming in at some point. Jeff, can you go get Nicole, please? Yes. So Kay. Hello, Kay.
Hi, Carolina.
How are you, Kay?
I'm good, thank you.
So I'm so happy to have you here again in the studio and on my show. So, Kay, can you introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Kay, and how do I introduce myself?
I don't know. Tell us whatever you want to tell us.
I'm an open book, I think. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about autism, and if you don't know, I'm autistic. Yeah, that's my introduction.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I guess that's a good introduction, but Jeff, you really need to go get Nicole because it's raining. Yes. Okay, so we are going to be talking about invisible disabilities, and Nurianne, this is a topic that you brought forward because you thought that it was a really important topic to bring forward. Can you tell us a little bit about it and why you thought it's something that we should be talking about?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of people around the world living with a health condition or disability. Nicole!
Hi!
Hi!
No worries, no worries.
That's important.
This is the reality of live shows, people.
Yes.
Yes, so there's a lot of people living
Yes.
with different kinds of health conditions,
So
correct?
sometimes they're visible
Yes.
on your skin, on your body. Maybe you'll see some symptoms. Sometimes they're not visible. There's many health conditions that have this impact on you physically, mentally, emotionally, economically, and all aspects that you can imagine. Actually, there's quite an amount of people living with a disability around the world, 50% more or less, according to World Health Organization. But about 80% are not visible.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
Dang, I
When
didn't know
started,
that.
I didn't know a few years back, and now, I realized that's shocking.
It is.
How do we deal with that? How do we, have empathy with those whose disability are not visible? And most of the time, we see those who have a disability physically, and you could see it, and you try to help. But what about the other people that can't show it all the time or can't voice it easily? I think it's very important so we have empathy and also think about how our schools work, how education system works,
Yes.
work hours,
Exactly.
sports team, dance teams. How do we advocate for everybody so everybody's included in the advocacy and in our cause? That's why I think it's very important, and so we rethink how we live as well. Give everybody a chance to develop to the best of their abilities and exploit all of their potential. Call us
Well,
on.
hello, Nicole.
Hello? Hello, hello, hello.
Can we hear her?
Hi, hi, hi.
Yes, and I think those are really important points, Nurianne, especially because, like you said, it's a lot of people. And I also was reading, and it really depends on, where you're at, but it's somewhere between 1 and 5, 1 and 10. So that's a pretty big number of people.
Incredible.
That might have some condition that, it might be long term, that it causes like a form of disability, but sometimes it's even short term. So how it impacts and affects them differs a lot. So it can be something that affects them
so much.
exactly for a period of like a couple of days at a time. Sometimes it's a couple of months, a couple of years,
forever.
and sometimes it's forever. Exactly. So it's understanding how, I guess, it impacts everyone, and then and I mean everyone in the bigger sense, because of course everyone is different. But I think the more we talk about it, then, like you said, maybe we can be more empathetic and more understanding. So while we wait for Nicole's camera and sounds to come on, no worries. I understand appointments. I totally get it.
Yes. And while it's raining.
and it was raining.
No, it was pouring. It's when I got out, I was like,
I know, but I mentioned that at the beginning too, that it's been raining a lot, and Aruba is not prepared for rain.
not at all.
And like, I don't want to get political or anything, but people, climate change is real because this is not normal. Like the amount of rain that Aruba has been getting, like we need to change all of our Aruba websites that says that it only rains like a couple of days a year, because it has rained for like 100 years now. Yes. Like, what is this? This is not okay. It's not normal. Yeah. But Nurianne, oh wait. Can we hear Nicole? Can she introduce herself?
Can you hear me now?
Is her thing on?
Can you hear me now? See? Yes? No?
Why can't we
What?
hear Nicole? Like Nicole's voice? Is Nicole's voice?
I know, right? I was.
Yes? Yay! Woohoo! Now we need. Hello! Happy New Week to you! No worries, no worries. Nicole, so maybe before we continue, you can introduce yourself real quick, and tell us just anything you want to tell us about yourself.
My name is Nicole, Godett, for those who don't know me as yet. Better known as Empowerment Queen. I have my own platform going on, empowering women, and somewhat doing men as well, because that is another topic. I'm a social worker by profession. And my favorite color is purple. I just have to say that.
I was going to say, you're the purple queen.
They call me purple queen, so I just have to establish that in this room.
Yeah.
The purple is my color.
Yes.
And, oh, my earring just fell.
Oh.
Oh, wait. Oh. This is me. This is me. This is me
I
in
love
full
that.
form. Me. This is what happens. The universe just loves to do this to me, and it's okay.
It's fine. It's just checking if you're like, hello, Nicole,
hello,
testing.
Nicole.
Testing
Or
1,
to
2.
Nicole.
Yeah, I think you're there.
And I think that is it, right? For now.
Yeah, I think that's a good introduction of who you are.
Loud and clear.
Yes. So, like we were saying, we're going to talk about invisible disabilities and how conditions can become invisible disabilities. I think it's also important to mention that a lot of conditions can become a disability, but they don't have to be. I think that's important. And like we already mentioned, they can disable you for a while, for a long time, or forever. It really depends. I think that's important because some people are afraid of the word disability, but it's not a scary word. It's a good word if used properly and in the right ways. Kay, maybe you can explain to us
I knew
why.
you were gonna say that.
Yes, because Kay really
Wait. Let me
taught
go
me
look for
this.
it. Let me go look for
You're
it.
gonna look it up?
Yes.
No.
I don't remember.
It should be
I
at your
remember.
heart.
It is in my heart, but I'm maybe gonna stutter.
Just flow.
Yes.
Just
Go with the flow.
Okay,
We're
so
flowing.
disability is like a legal term, right? And
Just go.
And a condition is more like a medical term.
yeah, a condition is more like a medical term, and it's important to have the title sometimes because it can help you, like in school, like it did with me. And that's why I'm a self-advocate as well, because I can like show others these things that happen to me.
So, like you mentioned, it's important to have that label. I mean, I guess people are afraid of labels because we have, in the past, as a society, really put a negative light onto these words. But the words in themselves are not negative, and it's important for us to think a little bit about that because the moment that we talk more openly, like we were saying, like Kay was saying, even in schools or at work about these conditions and how they can disable us in different forms at different times, that means more understanding and accessibility, and inclusion and everything that comes with it for whatever your personal situation is. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, that we shouldn't be afraid to use that word, but rather understand it and respect each condition and whatever it brings with it. And I guess the
mean
sooner...
about it.
Sorry?
Don't be mean about it or judge people that use the label.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so Nicole prepared some questions. I don't like preparing questions, but Nicole prepared some questions, so I'm gonna go. I'm sorry, Nurianne. Yes. Nicole was like, I did not.
I was processing.
Yes. So
some things in
Nurianne
mind.
actually prepared some questions for you that I didn't send you because I just they were. I don't really like questions.
My anxiety
No,
just went up.
general question.
Girl, do you
No,
want
no,
me to tell you I had nails like yours and I bit them off because my anxiety today?
No.
So Kay was asking me if she could get some questions so she can prepare, and I was like, ugh, she
That's
knows
me.
I don't like questions.
That's
So
me.
I was like, I'm not gonna give you questions, Kay. So whatever you want to talk about, just let me know so
share.
I can prompt you on it. But then Nurianne
I'll
does like to
stutter.
have a guide, so she was like, Carolina, I know that you don't like questions, but I prepared some like guiding questions because she's co-hosting today.
Thank you, Nicole.
So I,
Nurianne.
Yeah, see, hey. This is part of
the
being
end.
live.
we have
Kay.
this now, but
Nurianne, Nicole, Carolina. My
Carolina.
name's Carolina. All right, ladies. Nurianne, so
I just thank you, Carolina. I
Yes.
like how you said we have to get it out of the way. Saying you have a
Yes.
disability, it's not a bad thing. It just explains the situation, your personal experience to other people, and well, sometimes it puts some things in place for you
Yep.
to help you develop. I appreciate when you said that. I just wanted to know from both of you because I don't know you personally, and I do follow you, just so you know. I follow your movement. I follow you too. I've seen you at different events. Anyway, okay, so, but I don't know everything about you.
We know.
Now you know. I want to know from you, how was your experience, growing up? When did you know about your condition? I know with me it was a few years ago, but that's something I really want to know before we start the conversation and go deep into it. How did you know about your condition?
Me?
How old were you? Yes.
Okay, so I was officially diagnosed at 15,
Okay.
but
With?
with autism.
I think we have to be a little bit more specific.
Because I'm here and I think everybody knows me, but no. I'm Kate and I'm autistic. I was officially diagnosed at 15, and we knew pretty early on, but it's some situations that didn't take me to go to therapy yet and go to the trial to like get diagnosed. And then I got sick at some point, and that started like kick-started like this girl needs help.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't school. I think school was the place that helped me most in like the process of getting diagnosed. And then when I knew, it was a little bit hard to accept because I knew about autism, but I didn't know I had autism. And I didn't like really talk about it before that I knew about it, but I could relate. And then the process of accepting and finding out and accepting, and then that was like when I started to open up and I started drawing more about autism and writing about autism.
Wow.
And then everybody could like know.
That's
Yeah.
a beautiful way to channel, all those thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to hear. So you got support from school, you
From
say?
school, yeah.
That's amazing.
Can I give that school a clap?
Yes.
Yes, because I mean,
Because
yes.
They were there for you.
Yes.
That's important.
thank you
I
for being
feel
there for
like-
Kay.
Yes, I feel like Kay, I mean, and obviously I know Kay a little bit more, but anytime that I hear about her school experience, I feel like on, the bigger picture and the, general terms of it, I think that they did a pretty good job if we think about, how many years especially back it was as well. I think that in the last 10 to 15 years, the progression has been steady of,
Incredible.
knowledge and awareness. So to see how, they helped you and treated you and guided you, I think they did a pretty good job, and I'm really happy in the role that they played in helping you get that answer to that question that you have had for a long time of why, certain things were affecting you and triggering you the way they were, and you didn't even know. So indeed, I'm really, really happy. And sometimes that's what it is, right? It's often external pushes and conversations and other people who have been through something or realized something that will prompt you to either seek medical help or seek answers.
Research a little bit.
Yes. It's very rarely, especially when we talk about invisible disabilities, that somebody has been like, oh, I think, and just me and nobody else, it's usually through conversations where people are like, there's this thing, and I kind of feel like this thing is not the norm, and we don't like using the word normal, but I mean, it's not what regularly happens or what usually happens. So I think it's very important for people also to realize that it's good to have conversations on how we're feeling, symptoms we're having, because somebody might know somebody who went through something similar
And to help you.
Exactly. So I do think that's, and of course, go to your physician afterwards, right? Do not spend too much time on Google, but have those conversations.
WebMD.
Yes. Helpline.
Well, I'm panicky. When I get to the website, I'm already
You
panicking.
have everything.
Yeah.
I have
dying,
everything,
dying.
every single
Dying.
thing. No, I don't know. But about your school experience, that's
That's beautiful.
ideal. That's what we want. But this is why we're having this conversation. We want people to pay attention.
Exactly.
Pay attention to each other. If something is not, something's going on, you feel you could help, just try to be involved.
Yes.
Guide through the process. I love it. I love to hear it.
Thank
Did
you.
you have that same experience?
How was it for
you?
you?
Uh-oh.
That's why I'm thinking, like, was I really diagnosed?
Oh.
Well, I suffered with endometriosis for like the most of my life, and it was always a back and forth. For those, I don't even know how to explain what is endometriosis, But basically, I had a lot of cysts around my womb, and it's like you can explain it like vines. So like vines are growing inside of you, so the tissue, and it's
Like
basically
abnormal growth,
Yeah,
yes?
abnormal growth, and it clinges onto anything and everything, and sometimes it makes a mush of your insides.
Okay.
So basically, your reproductive system doesn't really work the way it should. And as a teen, you know, you have your whole menstrual cycle, and I didn't have. So it was like next to nothing. And
Okay.
of course, that was where it was like, I'm the weirdo, because everyone is like, no, you know, I have a calculator, and I'm like, whenever it happens, it happens. And thank God I was always lucky enough to get it like at night, so I would wake up with it, and I would be like, oh, okay, I have my menstruation, because I never got cramps.
Oh,
I never
wow.
got any type of indication that I'm getting my
That it's
menstruation. But anytime other than that, I would be in excruciating pain. Pains to the fact that sometimes I couldn't walk, and the older I got, the more intense it became. And like how you said, conversation. I started modeling, and I was having this conversation with someone. It was like, you know, but I always hid it, or I didn't hid it, but for me, it was just, you know, suck it up. It's pain, just suck it up. Some people have it while menstruating, and you don't. And I was speaking to a fellow model, and she was like, you know what, I have endometriosis, and it sounds very similar. But again, who knows what is endometriosis? So it's like, yeah, mind you, right now so at that moment I was already in my 20s.
Wow.
And I just went through all of that time. I conceived. I was a young mom at 19.
Okay.
And the question was, how did you conceive? Because I was like, I was on the pill trying to get a normal cycle, which never happened.
Wow.
And then I found that I was pregnant, and it was like, okay, yeah, and then what? And I remember going to the gyno, and he was like, yes, you have something wrong with your womb, but I don't really know what it is. And then he left. And then everyone after that was like, no, you're normal, you're young, just make babies and, you know, be content. And I was like, but I feel like I'm not okay. I have pain. Sometimes I can't walk. At the ending, because I removed my womb last year, at the ending it became so bad that sometimes I'm driving and I will get like a cramp and I can't drive anymore because it's just so bad. So friends would have to come pick me up. And that was when I spoke to another physician when I was getting injections in my tummy for something else caused by the endometriosis.
Oh, wow.
And I told him, you know, over the holidays, can you please talk to this gynecologist, because she's like very known, but I can't get an appointment. And he's like, you know what, I will. And he actually had a conversation at their Christmas dinner or whatever.
Wow, okay,
and then
imagine.
she called me like in January, and she was like, you know what, Nicole, you just have to get it removed because it's just enough. And I was like, yes. And ever since, I'm painless.
And
Oh God.
I think you mentioned like so many very important things that I want to touch on. So I'm going to start. But I think one of the really important things that I really want to touch on is how you said that sometimes the pain would be so bad that you couldn't keep driving. That is a moment when a condition disables you to function
completely.
like you would normally function.
Yep.
And that's important to acknowledge, because there are other people that have reproductive system issues, but it does not impede them to function regularly. Like you were mentioning that, I know a lot of people have PCOS. I myself have PCOS.
And I was between that.
Yes.
So first it was like PCOS, endometriosis, endometriosis. And I kept in
Exactly.
that limbo for years.
Yes, and in my case, I mean, my periods are very much announced. You know, they will do a whole show right before it comes. Like, I know, like it's a
The
pain,
way
it's a
you
back
share
pain,
it.
it's like everything.
Everything at the same time.
And it's a gradual, but it's like I can almost time when it's gonna happen. Like I can, like it's incredible.
Wow.
But
Incredible.
anyways, but it doesn't disable me to function, right? I mean, yeah, sometimes it hurts, and then when I get the cramps, I know what meds to take, and it's kind of like helps out. And of course, some days are like a little bit more than others. I just take it easy on those days, you know, just recognize my body, drink more water, drink more fluids. I know what to eat and drink, that it's not gonna cause me to bloat more,
bloat
or
more.
you know,
To have more
yes,
stomach.
or you know, give me gases or anything that can like make it more uncomfortable, but it does not impede me to function. Whereas I know people with PCOS and people with endometriosis like yourself, and you know, I have known you pre your surgery and now after, and how you shared, and I love how you were so open about it too, to the point where impedes you from functioning, and that's when you should.
That's the tricky part.
Yes, it should ring bells. Like
Yeah.
that should be an issue. And what you said, the whole normal you're young thing, I have heard that way too many times.
Yeah.
Women are.
It's rude.
Yes,
I
it
was
is.
mad. I was pissed because I was
disrespectful.
like, you know what? I'm not here for that. I'm here because I can't live like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to
It's
the
not
point
fair.
to see, you know what? Can I get more kids? Is it even normal? Because mind you, nothing comes announced. I was actually on a pill trying to get my menstruation at least twice a year.
Wow.
Because according to them, it's not normal for you not to menstruate, which we all know. So again, you're sorry the word normal, but you know, you have to have some time. But whether it's 4 times a year, but I was just going, and for me, it was tricky because again, it's a thin line between but we all get cramps, and females like, oh, but I got cramps, and
minimize. It's
yeah,
so
and
much,
I'm like,
so often.
I know my body, and I feel that we should be respected for knowing our body. So when I say that it's not a regular
100%.
cramp, please
Exactly.
do believe that it's not a regular cramp. And I must say, like, throughout the years, I'm so thankful for my doctor at the SVB because he understood. I mean, as a man, he this is not his thing, but he understood that it was becoming a problem, while at my workplace they did not understand. And it was like, oh, you're just being dramatic. And I was like, you know what?
Wow.
So sometimes I would push through and go to work, and then they would see me, and then they would be like, you know what, go home.
Maybe you should go home.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pushing just to make a point that I'm not making this up. I'm not a crazy person. And that's where I started becoming a bit more louder on Facebook, because I'm saying, if this is me, maybe someone else is going through that, and at work, they're not understanding. I'm so thankful for my partner and my kids, because literally, whenever it happens, because I can't tell whenever it happens, sometimes I could go to bed fine, and then I can't wake up the following morning because it's just so much
painful.
pain.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? Like you mentioned, it's not even about like maybe a physician being a man or a woman, because you had male physicians that were understanding. And it is understanding, like you said, that the person is the expert on their own body and their own feelings and what they feel and everything. But women in general in healthcare are seen as overdramatic and as hysterical, right? I mean, the word hysteria in itself. But anyways, so
That part.
those are things that we have carried for years and years within like the health professions, to the point that it has become an issue in the way that we provide services. And I say we because I mean I'm part of like the healthcare sector, and it's become an issue as to how we see women, how we treat women, and when we respond and how promptly we respond to women explaining her symptoms. So it's like a little bit of everything, right? If you're too explicit or too clear, then you can't be feeling all those things. If you're too calm, then it must be not that bad. I mean, I have tried it all. I have been dramatic, I have been calm, I have been collected. I mean,
What you're
feel
saying,
you.
that's why you said something
yes.
very important. I'm not believed when I say I feel this. And that.
No.
That's the problem and the danger with having an invisible disability.
Exactly.
At a moment or not, it doesn't happen the whole day, all day, but because we don't pay attention to this, we create systems that are not safe,
Yep.
dangerous, and jeopardize the health, especially the mental health of our people. Can you imagine for women, for us? I consider myself female. I don't want to set anything on anybody else, but
Yes.
we feel a certain way about things, and some people would understand and say, okay, like explain it to me. At least it just only takes an explanation so people understand and not assume what it is like. But can you imagine for those who maybe identify as male, and they do not even talk about it or mention at
Exactly.
work, you know what, I have diabetes, or I have autism, or I have chronic pain, chronic fatigue. And then you have sometimes these situations at work or school, and nobody knows what to do.
Yep.
Exactly.
And it's just you with yourself there in danger because you're too afraid to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes I feel that I can't talk about it too much because it's going to be in the way of me functioning every day because you're going to be seen a different way. Have you felt that before?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's okay.
No, that's fine.
okay.
We don't have to talk about everything. Do feel
Yeah.
free to chime in whenever you want to.
Yes.
Of course.
But it's those things. But Nurianne, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your experience
Oh,
and
okay.
yes, I mean I know you're co-hosting, but I think
We wanna know.
all
You're
of
curious,
us,
okay. I can
yes,
share.
all of us sitting at this conversation. There's no table, but I mean sitting in this
Symbolic
circle,
table.
have an experience with an invisible disability and
Yes.
also what it means. So maybe tell us a little bit about your situation.
You know, I think I've always been aware of people who have different conditions, but when you have a health condition yourself, it changes the whole game. How you sleep, what you eat, when you sport, how you study, every single thing. Work, it changes all your relationships. And I really came to understand that, wait a minute, we're doing things that are not healthy. Why are we pushing each other to a limit that is not healthy? Why are we doing this to each other? This is harmful. And I was diagnosed in 2015 with my diabetes type 1. I think the stressor was really stress. You know, that was the factor that was like the last drop.
Okay.
And it was extremely dangerous at the point. I ended up a weekend in the ICU department and then another 5 days. So a whole week in the hospital, in medium care. And I understood, why am I doing this to my body? Because I grew up thinking I have to work extra hard to make things happen.
Yep.
I have to do
Twice
I
as
know.
hard for half
Twice
as
as
much.
hard.
Yep.
Yep.
because I'm a perfectionist as well, so I'm really trying to work on that and accept that my body says it's enough. And I became a diabetes advocate at that point immediately. And I started to learn and research about diabetes and the complications, you know, the kidney, heart failure, mental health, all of those things. But I really learned, wait a minute, this is invisible. And people often tell me, oh, you don't look like you have diabetes.
What does
How-
that mean?
how do
What does that mean?
Exactly.
How
How
do
do
you
people with
supposed
the
to know?
yes,
Yes.
like
Yeah, it's not
Don't
something
get me
that you can,
started.
pinpoint. So a lot of that's, I realized, no, periuda. It's not something that you could see, or it doesn't, the stereotype, the stigmas, But I understood, wait, people really don't know. People don't know. Sometimes I sit in meetings, and for 45 minutes, my mind is just going like, ooh, because I'm having a low, or it's too high, and I don't say anything. Because at a certain point, you don't want to say anything anymore because you feel uncomfortable.
That's
and
wrong.
It's very wrong. And that's when I said, wait a minute, I have to do something about this. And let me just get it straight. Everybody around me, work, my hobbies, online, are very, very, very extremely caring. But I feel that
You're being a
sometimes
burden.
you feel like a burden.
No, you're not.
I can't, get rid of that feeling because it's really stressful, on your family, your friends, your colleagues, everybody, and it's not easy. But the more you educate, the better.
exactly.
So I'm just doing research about invisible disabilities. It's going to be quite a journey, but I wanted to start in a way, and I'm happy that this is a platform to start
Yes.
the open conversation because it has been happening behind the scenes. So that's pretty much it. And sometimes it's very difficult to explain to people, you can talk to me for 30 minutes because I don't know what you're talking about. I have my juice box next to me just in case.
I was gonna say that, and I just wanted to mention
Juice box.
also how you came in because that's part of like who you become, right? And the
Yes.
explanation of how this becomes a part of you. So you came in with your juice box, and you were like, "So I'm gonna sit down with my juice box," and then at some point you were like, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like why would it be okay?" But then I checked in back, and I was like, "Of course you're asking me because it is not a given." I mean, some schools will still say that you can't eat during like classes.
During class.
Yeah.
And some places, like workplaces too, like they won't have you have like food if you're like serving the public or whatever. I personally have never had that experience. But, it becomes something that you have to be aware of, that you have
It's
to be
just-
able to communicate every time.
Yes.
And, I mean, even, I think it's it's kind of bizarre how we have made some rules around food and how we behave around
And that's why I
food.
think you have to just be radical with whatever you have because
Yeah.
people don't know. And
Uh-huh.
it's very nice of her for asking. I would have just come with my juice box. And I would have been
Exactly.
like, Carol, this is what is happening.
No, but
sis,
and the way
I know what you mean.
You know,
Yeah,
I
because
shouldn't be asking
it-
actually, but it's
exactly.
just
yeah, no, I,
But it
I
becomes-
understand. I understand where you're coming from, but I want you to understand as well that it's all about you. And as
It is.
selfish as it may
is.
sound, it's all about you. Because if something happens, God forbid, it's not any of us
Anybody.
feeling it. It's
It's
you
just
going
me
through
with
it.
me,
And then the
yeah.
recovery is also like a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I remember just reaching to the point where I was like, because like how you said stress, stress was actually one of my huge
triggers, of
Oh,
course.
no.
before this, I suffered a lot with migraine, and stress was always my thing. Being a perfectionist again,
Oh,
you know,
no.
you want everything nicely done, blah blah blah, which doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'm wired like that, and it's who I am, and I'm forever thankful, I guess. But when it came to a certain point, I had to be like, because I'm very active, you know, I do this and I do that, and then you have that pain, and sometimes it's like you commit to something, and it's like
Yep.
I cannot move. So then here I am.
Oh, how am I
Girl,
going to do
my
this?
walk was the best. My walk was like a robot thing, and I used to have to sit like, you know, like I can't just sit. It was a whole show, and everyone will be like, "You're okay," and I'm like, "I'm fine."
I'm fine. I'm okay.
Fine.
You don't want
And
to
then you
give
know
in,
you
no?
do the rest. And
Yes.
it reached to the point I was like, "No, Nicole, we're not doing this."
No.
Because at the end of the day, maybe because I pushed myself that one day, I prolonged like 6 days on the bed.
Yep.
While maybe if I just stayed that one extra day,
Uh-huh.
maybe I could have been better the day after. So I was like,
Exactly.
to hell with all
We're
of
not
that,
doing
and I'm
that
gonna just do me. And my kids would be like, you know what? When you see me in a certain state, find your dad. I'm not able. And you know, again, mom guilt. I would feel so bad because I
can
can't
imagine.
get up
The
and I can't do
guilt
this
feeling. Oh
and
my
I can't.
God.
But if I'm that, and coming back to what you said about your support system, I'm so grateful for that because they become your shield.
Yep.
So it becomes it reaches to a moment where whether you're getting backlash or whatever, or you're not really where you have to be mentally, they'll be like, you know what, but we got you.
got
So
you. We're
I
here for
I
you.
I put so much people in place that would like pick the kids up, and whenever I'm in that state, I'm just gonna message. I'm
know.
gonna be like, help. And then they will just get that done. And for me, it was an ease because you can't stress while you're already in a stressful state, you know, because your
Makes you
body is
so
already
sick.
going through it.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's why I love this platform for and this opportunity to talk about it because a few weeks ago someone was like, you know what, I've been diagnosed with endometriosis and I have no idea what it is. Yes, you can
gosh.
Google, but at the end of the
not
day,
the
it
same.
has to do with what it does with you.
Exactly.
What it does with you daily, like how do you feel and how do you not
What do
feel?
you
and,
need,
You know,
you know?
exactly. And you
Yes.
will have to just create your little, your little
Your-
bubble as in
your own
what,
system.
your own system and what to do and what you can do. It was a point that I couldn't climb stairs.
Oh no.
So everything had to maneuver around stairs. Mind you, a lot of places still have stairs.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
would have to be like,
Can I go there?
okay,
Yeah.
let me push through this. But sometimes I would just say, you know what, sorry, I can't come because there's stairs, and I know that would be a trigger as well. So
And that's the thing, right? And it's how you move and who you are as well. So you, like me, are very outspoken. So, but for those of you that know Nurianne is a very polite and nice person. I'm not saying that Nicole and I are
God
not.
bless you, baby
but
girl. No, I need that. I need lessons.
but she is so like I have known Nurianne since like elementary school,
Oh my
and
God,
she
babe,
is.
the class.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
I didn't know any
Way
of
back.
that.
I know.
And I was like rowdy, but Nurianne has always been so nice, like and so like calm and
God.
and so I can like I totally understand how you are like, can I bring my juice box? Whereas to like Nicole and me, like I don't have.
We just got like barge in and
you know,
I have
other
it.
than I need certain amounts of food, and Kay knows this, to function like a regular person. I just have food with me, and if it's time, and if I am starting to feel that it's time, like I will bring in food everywhere. And sometimes people will give me like a side eye, but I don't even allow
you need to understand,
the space exactly for it to be an issue. And I haven't gotten it yet, I mean, even if I get like the side eyes or whatever, but even if somebody would say something, I think that I would just use that opportunity to
educate.
Yes, educate, because in my case, it's not a situation of life and death. I mean, maybe for the other person, but I become very hangry, and it's like 0 to 100. But it's just about that. The way we move around certain things, so the way we move around food, how we behave about what is allowed or not allowed, and whatever the judgment that we put into, it's like, oh, too healthy or not healthy enough, or too much or not enough, right? We have so many opinions on it, and onto others, and we don't even understand what is going on for them, right? But then it's also other things. So like in your case, how you would behave, somebody would be like, oh, Nicole, you're a whole able person, like, why do you care so much about stairs? And it's like
The triggering.
Yes.
Why do we have an opinion? I'm so sorry. I had to. That's a trigger. Why do you have opinions on things we don't even understand?
Exactly.
I would get that a lot. Like, you're so busy, and all of a sudden now you can't.
If
If I knew when I would be triggered, I would have some type of buzz button and like buzz it, and everyone would know. I mean,
Exactly.
It's
I can schedule it.
Like,
I
it's
can choose for
coming.
this.
I wish I knew when it was coming.
Yeah, and then people call you manipulative. I hate that, by the way.
So,
But yeah.
okay, feel free to chime in on this.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
We want to hear it.
Go.
I'm almost crying because I can relate to all of you, but I'm quiet because I'm learning at the same time. But like, for example, in the healthcare system, I've been called manipulative so many times because I cannot tell when things are coming. Right now I can feel good, and then 1 second later I'm not, because I'm triggered by a lot of things, the light, the airco. I put my earbuds in because I can't. So it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
Yes, and it's also understanding that. So, I mean, and it's also being okay with that, right? Nurianne, I think you mentioned some stuff on how it impacts our circle, and I do want to stand still on that, because nobody obviously is obligated to take care of anyone, really. I mean, it's no obligation. It is the ethical thing to care about the people around us.
It's a rule of life.
Yes, but it's not an obligation. So, and I am very much aware of this, and how it's also not, somebody else's obligation to like research your situation or understand. It's our obligation to explain it if we want somebody to understand and to give us a certain amount of support. So I'm very aware of those things, but it's how we react and how as a society we go about information as well. So, something like you said, like, oh, you don't look diabetic, and Kay gets it all the time. And, it's like, okay, you don't look autistic when.
What do you mean?
Yes, and it's so important to kind of, I want to ask everybody who's listening to really work really hard on erasing that sentence from your vocabulary.
Thank you.
In regards to whatever condition, to whatever, like, please do not say, but you don't look X, right? Whatever that is. Even if it's like race, even if it's like heritage, if it's
Whatever
conditions, whatever it is, erase that. Because you are trying, and the moment you say that, even if it's like, if you're aware of it or not, you are invalidating whatever information that person just told you.
Whoever the person is.
Yes, and
or
whoever
whatever the
they
person
are.
stands for.
Exactly.
And
So that is very important.
Can I add to that just one more thing? Like, adding to that, just don't say things that has any type of negative implication to anyone. Like, if you don't,
Just avoid it.
Just avoid. Like, my mom always taught me, if you don't have something nice to say, just
Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. And I think it's better if you ask a question than just make a blunt statement.
Yes.
Like, just ask.
Yes.
Good.
Like, why can't you go up the stairs? Hey, a question. Because I suffer from da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
What is that?
You
can
know?
keep on
And then you
going.
have a full-blown conversation.
Exactly.
And you take that angle and you go with it, and the person feels relieved because, hey, someone wants to know, and not just a statement, because we love statements like dot.
Language matters.
Yes.
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 You can say almost anything, but it depends on how you phrase it and how you ask.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
So if you really don't know about something, just ask. It's not that bad asking me, but what is the difference between this and that? And
Exactly.
please, those watching, don't say later, oh, this generation is so sensitive. We're not
Sensitive,
going to go
Yes.
there.
No.
It has nothing to do with sensitivity.
get
It
that
has to
also.
do, you know,
Yes, yes.
Oh,
I
but-
feel like that's a scapegoat to. Maybe I don't want to sound mean.
but I do want to say it because
Yes, let me see how I'm gonna say it. But I just want to say it in a way that it's as clear as possible. I genuinely believe that is a defense mechanism to them realizing that the next generation, and it's not just the next generation, but whomever takes the opportunity to learn a little bit more knows more. And we don't like that as people. We don't like to be wrong, and we don't like to be misinformed and realizing that we are. So I think that as a whole, a group of people are annoyed that the next
smarter.
generation
We're
is
informed.
so aware and
Wants to know,
informed. Yes.
exactly.
But please, I just want to also, with that same sentence, let you know that although I understand where that comes from, please also understand that it's logical. I mean, the younger generation, the more access they have had since day one to information that older generations haven't had. So even if we look at kids, like I look at kids and the conversations that they're having and the information that they are exposed at versus what I was exposed at their age, like we have to be aware that it is the expected. So you shouldn't be as surprised, and it's not with sensibility or
No.
whatever. It's just knowing more,
Experience.
and the more you know, the better you know what to do with that information, and what you choose to do with it. And I'm happy to see that a lot of indeed younger generations have used the information that they have learned to just become more sensible people, because that's
absolutely.
not like a bad thing, it's more empathy. They're so much more empathetic. I love it. So please, people, do not shut it down. Just understand where it comes from, and it doesn't mean that you don't get to learn. You can always learn and be informed, so by all means, you know.
You said something very important, because I look at you and I say you all have a very important role in the community. And when you're at a certain age, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, very young, you're growing and you're developing. At that point, maybe you don't know what kind of profession you're going to do later on, but whatever profession you're going to fulfill or role, it's going to be important. But make sure that you're educated. Doesn't matter in which position you are, but be great at what you do. And be great to the people that you work with.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we all want to have, a healthy environment. And it really
Exactly.
starts at the education. Just
It doesn't even matter
minimum
where you
awareness.
work at,
No, it
as
doesn't
long
matter.
as you are good to people, right?
Exactly.
I love that. I think that was a very nice message, Nurianne. It just doesn't matter where you end up being. Do not pass on the opportunity to educate yourself, to learn, and just be a better person. Because it doesn't matter if you are a shoemaker, if you are a scientist at NASA, if you are the best chef in the world. Like, if you're shitty to people, you are shitty, period. I mean, if you're a good person, then great.
It is true.
Yes.
It's true. And what makes you shitty is such comments.
Exactly.
Comments, not
Like,
being aware.
yes.
How? Like, what happened? Who did you wrong that you can have such assumptions and make such comments and feel okay with yourself?
It's
Because
not
you
okay.
have no clue. That's why, like, right now, for me, right, the whole trending about mental health, I think people mention it because it's a trend, but do
you
they
understand
really
it?
understand the in-depth meaning of what someone might be going through? Like, I doubt it. And a lot of times you can see someone posting one thing, and then in the comments they're becoming
A
so
whole
mean
other
to
thing.
prove their point, and I'm like, this here, you're triggering someone. And you're
Trigger
not even
warnings.
aware of it. And then here you are saying, yes, but we have to be mindful, because have people out there, and And I'm like,
What
oh,
do you
wow.
mean? Why
And what
quite
about
the
you
opposite, yeah.
being mindful about your wording and being mindful about the way you carry yourself? Like, come on.
Sometimes when you see that, I think some people feel trapped.
Yes, I was gonna
They
say that.
comment certain things because they feel trapped or can't. You know, sometimes
It's
people.
online.
But you know, some people can't really
Communicate
understand what they're
word.
going through
Yep.
and become mean.
Yes.
Online.
And
So
that's in
instead of
reality
saying
too.
I'm vulnerable, they say
Yeah.
other things.
Yep.
It's possible. And I learned that, and I understand, like, whoa, wait. I can't, you know, I don't want to. Sometimes you're really triggered to react and say those exact beautiful words back to people. But then I go like, Warna, hindi kita may pasando ding algo.
Yeah.
Ting algo. There's
That's
something.
why my go-to is I wish you healing.
Exactly.
Like, that's always my go thing. But not
Oh
always.
my gosh.
I can't always wish you healing.
I saw.
can't.
I know. And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. And because it's also a choice. A lot of times it's a choice.
Yeah.
Because
Just don't comment.
exactly.
Put anything up.
Don't comment.
We have so many resources, and these conversations are important. I'm not saying that these type of conversations are, but we have so many resources that at this point it's a choice. Like if you
True.
are
That's
communicating
also true.
with community, with other people, but like by all means, I do not expect you to be knowledgeable about everything. But if you're working with people and you choose to be mean to people and you
That's a
choose
choice.
to
It's a
undermine
choice.
people,
It's a
exactly,
choice.
and then that's a choice. And I generally believe that it often comes from a privileged point, because if you have never been in a position where you had to think about if there are stairs or not, if it's accessible or not, if it's too loud, if it's too
You're
like
privileged.
lit up, if
Yep.
If there's
exactly.
food or not.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like you coming from that, and that's a thing that you can be privileged and still take the time to understand and realize, but then there are people who choose not to. And
It's the willingness.
Yes.
You know, it's, for me, what is important is the willingness to try to understand. I'm not saying that you have to understand everyone. Mind you, if you're working in a department where like over 200 people, I don't expect you to know
Everyone.
everything and
Exactly.
everyone. But then have certain things, just don't comment.
You have to have an
Yes.
open mind.
the
I mean, it
willingness
really
at
starts there.
least,
Or, you know,
exactly.
It's a whole demeanor of a person, basically. It boils down to that.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I'm a saint, and I'm not saying that I haven't
No.
triggered people, because Lord knows.
I know.
Lord knows.
But you
But
learned.
when I'm learning.
Learning. Okay.
It's a process.
I love
Yes.
that.
Everything is a process.
Yes.
I'm learning. But for me, I like knowing, so I would ask. And I think being a social worker, you have no clue who you're going to get in front of you every day.
Exactly.
So I have to be
Yes.
open-minded. I have to be, and I have to be honest. I think that's very important, because if you're not there, then you must be able to say that you're not there.
Exactly.
So
I
whether
don't
if I'm being
understand,
triggered or whether I don't understand, I must be able to say, you know what, Kay, at this moment, I'm not understanding. I'm going to remove myself from the situation, please, you know, because I know that at that moment, I'm not being useful to her or you or for myself.
Exactly.
And I
I like
think a
that.
lot
I
of
like how
time
you say
people
that.
are not aware in that moment, in that position, hey, am I being productive? Am I being empathetic? Am I being kind in this situation? And if I'm not, I should remove myself instead of just being this big bad wolf and just saying what I have to say, whether it's because it's my position, whether it's because of this, I'm comfortable or my privilege. You have to be able or adult enough, and I think I teach my kids this at a young age, because I think it's my job to raise better children. And if you are not fit for a certain situation,
back.
remove yourself. And it
Yep.
could be whether it's stopping for a fight, but even stopping you from saying something that you might regret. And again, it's not easy. Sometimes you blurt things out and it's like,
Ooh, why did I say that?
you know?
Yep.
But if you are aware in that moment to remove yourself, then you avoided that whole fiasco.
Sometimes just one word,
Yeah.
one thing,
Yep.
it just
Yeah.
sets you completely off,
Yeah.
and you're going to feel
Yeah,
bad
I know.
about it for
Exactly.
a long time. And it's not even your fault, you know?
No, and
Triggers.
I
Sure
heard
happened.
something today. I was listening to a podcast, and something that was said is, and it goes back to a lot of what we were saying. It's that oftentimes it's just a projection of that other person, and
see, we go
it's a
back to that.
projection of either experiences that they have had,
Yep.
or positions that they have been in, situations that they have been
Or
in,
they feel
or
vulnerable.
not have been in at all. So it's a projection of that not knowing. And like you said, Nicole, sometimes there are things that you absolutely don't know, and that's okay too. But then understanding that the
Ask.
person in front of you, and that's the thing. A lot of people tend to be very like not trusting of people in general. So they're skeptical about people.
Oh, that's true.
I'm not a skeptical person. Like
But that
although.
that goes back to upbringing and
Yes.
trauma. And
Education,
that comes back
I
to
mean.
the projection.
Exactly. So, like, in my case, like, I'm not skeptical at all, and I have always said this, like, if somebody lies to me, or if somebody, like, makes up a story, like, it really, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter for me, I'm not gonna
You
go,
just let it go.
no, I'm not gonna go from that point of view. Like, if somebody comes to me and goes like, oh, I can't come, or I can't participate, or I'm unable because XYZ, like, okay, I'm
It's
gonna
okay.
take that for your truth, because I can't be living and
I was
thinking
coming,
that
Carolina.
I know.
Okay.
No, what I'm saying, yeah,
Just to
I just
clear the
realized
air.
that might have. No, I don't mean. No. No. No, I'm just kidding. But it's so important to
I
realize
understand.
that as
Yeah.
well, right?
I have yet to learn that.
And that's something that it's and it's probably comes from a point of privilege from my side, where people have not let me down, I guess, enough times for me to feel like I have to be skeptical about people. And I'm not saying that you have to like believe everybody all the time. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that if somebody is telling you that they're in pain, or that something bothers them, or that hurts them,
Be understanding.
yes,
At
I mean,
least. At least.
it probably will not cost you much if you just say okay, even if you
Feel
don't
better
understand
soon.
it.
Yep.
Like, I remember when I was still studying and I was finishing my studies, and I was guiding children in the pediatric department. My mom came to me, and that was like, I had learned this in school, but it was the first time that I had experienced a child who was selectively mute. And you learn about it, but then it's like, then you experience it, and the mom was like, this might happen because we're in a setting that is stressful, and it might happen. And I was like, okay. And like, literally, I had nothing besides whatever theoretical framework I had at that point to like, that was gonna be my first experience. So every single time that I was trying to communicate with this child, I went from the point that this might be the moment when this child is gonna be selectively mute, and if that's like a legit thing or not, right? Because I got that
Yeah.
answer from like other nurses. I was like, I don't really care. What matters is that she gets the services that she needs,
Of course.
and if we have to go around this some different way, so be it. Then I learn a new skill, a new
creative.
way to communicate. So I mean, it really doesn't matter what I think about it, if I think it's serious or not. But and that experience for me personally was so humbling, because I was so aware that I was making a very conscious choice, because it was something that, compared to other things that I had experienced, I couldn't like pinpoint my finger on it. There was no way for me to realize when it was gonna happen, or any visual, nothing. Like no understanding truly like of how it might function and how it's gonna happen or when, but just taking the mom as the most knowledgeable person about this child,
She's the
as the expert,
expert.
and just it was so liberating, because then I realized the amount of stress and effort that goes into fighting that back, and just the effort that went into just going with it, basically, it was so much less. And then everybody got the service that they needed, and in a way that it was
it
a
was
positive
smooth,
experience. So, I mean, it's possible, right?
But people
This
just
is-
don't like going, off their
Yes.
routine or what they know.
That's what I said also. Like, if you teach your kids that, then it will be better than learning it as an adult and changing the way that you are.
Absolutely.
Because
It
I
becomes a
have this
habit.
as well, because sometimes I go nonverbal when I get an attack or something. And imagine being my own parent in that moment and trying to get back, and people just tell you like hasi drechi, like how, and I can't talk like so what helped me, I think it's good to say also what helps is like making an action plan of who I am, of what to do, what not to do, and stuff like that.
Wow,
so,
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
And
but
being
that
a little
takes a lot of effort.
I know. And I'm looking at Kay
I
because
think we all need that though.
Yeah, it's very
We all need
helpful.
that.
so I love it when Kay is like
me
in
more.
moments and she'll be like, Carolina, like, what should I do? Because I understand that she comes to me because I'm like what they call in Dutch like very nuchter. So I can like come over as a little cold sometimes, and I'm not. I think I'm a very like bubbly and like
Very focused.
social person, but I'm very practical. So I mean, so I remember when Kay was in Greece, she was like, oh, this thing's coming out, like I don't know how to do it. And I'm like, are there cabs? Yes or no? Like I was asking her like very specific questions, like how long is the bus ride? Like, is this, do they have Uber? Yes or no? Like, you should make a schedule. Like, how many minutes? Like, tell me. She's like, yeah, I just need a walk. And I'm like, what kind of walk? Like a 2-minute walk, a 5-minute walk, 30-minute walk. Like make it in a way so that people can. So, it's like, I understand that we don't always have to make it easier for others, but it's just making it easier for ourselves. Like, if I can just tell you, like, this is what I need and when I need it, and then that's it. Like, just follow the plan, right?
Like follow it. Yeah, exactly.
But it's
I need to make a
understanding.
plan. I need your help.
Because now she has drafts. No. We went through this. So now Kate is very much able to create her own plans. And now she can, like, tell other people plans. But it's just having, like, I don't know, if we didn't have that conversation, I don't know if she would have done that. But it's having those people. That's why talking to people is important. Because for me, it was very like, duh, you need a plan. But for some reason, at that point, nobody had told her about how important that is. So I just think it's having those conversations. Like, I do not feel what Kay feels. Like, I do not know what's going on in her brain at any moment, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to understand and feel to the extent of like being in her brain to be able to just be, an accessible point.
Her process.
Yes, and a guide
what we're
in
there
whatever
for.
way that is possible. And I want to encourage people that you do not have to be an expert, because by all means I am not an expert.
You don't have to
And
understand.
that do not make anyone's journey on this
More
earth
difficult.
more difficult.
Thank you.
Yes,
we
that's
do
it.
It goes
enough
down to
for
that.
ourselves.
That's it.
Yes.
Listen.
Yes.
That is key.
Yep.
Like, I
Yep.
mean, we each right here have so much going on
Yep.
in our lives, in our mind. Don't talk about our minds, because
Minds
that's just
are-
a place
that's
that
a
no
whole
one
other
knows. That
world.
is a
Exactly.
whole invisible world.
Yep.
Yes.
And then why would you, out of the blue, make it even more impossible for
Exactly.
me? Like, zip it.
Yep.
Like, just go
Yep.
back into your little invisible world and leave mine alone. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
It's just
Exactly.
learning. When you have a health condition or a disability somehow, you learn to understand what boundaries mean.
But then keep it with
You need to
yourself.
keep it with
even.
yourself as well.
Sometimes-
Yeah.
sometimes
That's a very
it's
good
hard.
point. And
Yep.
I mean, I'm learning too.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to be very, very caring with others, but sometimes you have to really ask, where is my boundary?
Yep.
Don't be in the way of people, growing, developing. You ask, how can I help?
Yes.
What should I do?
And can I or can I not?
Can I or can I not? Like,
Exactly.
what are your boundaries?
Yep.
It's really important to know nobody, absolutely nobody, can stand in the way of you developing it. Nobody has the right to do that. You have the right to grow and be the person that you have to be and become. And I always say, you don't have to understand. You don't understand? That's fine. You need to respect me.
Yep.
Yes.
It is what it is. And
Yep.
you can't say it's not that way
Yep.
because it's my body, my choice.
Point blank.
It's my
That's
truth.
it.
One
It's
diabetic in this world that is
Thank
exactly
you.
the same.
Yep.
You feel that way
you.
too?
Yes.
And I love it because Kay and I have so many conversations all of the
Aw.
time. And sometimes she'll be like, Karina, and I love how she does it. She's like, can I ask you a question? And then I go like, what type of question is it? Like, it's going to require like a lot of energy from me. And I'm just honest because and explicit because I do not want to give false expectations, right?
Or Carolina, can I use your brain?
Yes, she'll do that. She's like, can I use your brain? And I'm like, yeah, I have 30 minutes, go. Or like, you know, I can't, but you're going to have to remind me later because I can't right now. And I don't have the space right now.
Is it
And-
later?
That's a beautiful way of saying it. I love that.
But it's just being aware and honest about it, right? And just having that space. But I do that too. I'm like, can I run by something by you? Can I ask a question? Like, you know, do you want to participate in this? Like, are you in a place to do this? Like, maybe you're tired. And
Is it okay?
because I by no means will pretend that I fully understand what you're going through. Like, I can have an idea, and if I know you a little bit, then I would know. Like, Nicole, I'm sure people around you by now, or not now, because now you are in a good place.
free.
Yes. But before then, you know, there might be things that you say, do, or facial expression that people who are close enough might already figure out. The same with you, right, Nurianne? People might know
Yes.
when you're like dozing off.
That's why, you know, I
Yes.
talk about it, and I was just sipping my
Exactly.
juice because I was like, my head is going. I mean, lefty, righty, so. But sometimes you really can't see it, and I learned to hide it so well. Sometimes I was in situations I was like, I can't have this episode now. But it shouldn't be the way at all. And it's true, and I'm still learning because I absolutely like to be completely independent, and that's impossible in my life. I need to accept that.
Yep.
So I learned so much from you today.
I think,
Really.
like how you
Yes.
said, conversation is key, and don't be ashamed of who you are. At the end of the day, it could be a disability, but it's who you are.
Yes.
So by being ashamed of your disability, that means you're low-key being ashamed of yourself.
Of yourself.
And in my case, mine was something that you don't really talk about, you know? Because again,
taboo.
when you're talking about diabetes, when you're talking about anything else, you know, someone knows somebody. But
That
in my
has
case, it was
diabetes.
like, what? And then the name is like, what?
What?
And
Yep.
then, but what does that mean? And then it's like, yeah, but this and that. And it was like, what? And then, but how do you feel? And then the pain differs. And then sometimes you have to.
Yep.
So for me, initially it was like, I'm not going to say anything because where do you start? I remember my boyfriend, how the hell I'm going to start by saying this?
And
How do I
explaining
go to
it.
explain
Because
it?
again, it affects your sex life as well. Of
course.
You know, so it's like,
Yep.
but then you get over that. And then, of course, you're not going to be all over the place because you don't want to explain it to everyone because it's still private,
private.
you know?
It's
It's
personal.
still private, but then it reached to the point where, hey, because it's like 1 in 10 women. So
That's a
imagine
lot.
that. Yeah.
Yes,
so
yeah.
1
a lot,
in
yes.
10. So what are the odds that someone might not have it or might have it? And so I reached to the point I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to be bold about it, and then, you know, people going to, and what? And
But
then
it's their
that's how I
decision.
started. And I don't know everything because, again, I only can tell you about my experience. I
Yep.
can't tell you about the whole clinical this and because I
That's
don't
another
know.
thing.
This
Yep.
is how I experience it, and this is what happens to me. Because that modeling friend of mine, hers were not as bad as mine. And she would be like, but yours are so bad. Like, why are they not seeing it? And I was like, I don't know, and I don't care. And this is how I feel. So it reached to the point where I just thought that I'm being la dramatica, you know, because I have a Dominican blood. So I was like, I'm being la dramatica here. And it was like, no, but I actually feel this. And it, you know, and people around you see how you're hiding and your discomfort. And then it was like, you know what, to hell with it. This is what I am.
Yep.
This is what I have, whether you like it or not. And sometimes I can do things and sometimes I can't. And whatever.
That's okay too, right?
Yeah.
That's also another discussion
Yes.
because when you have a condition, well, it could be 10 people having the same condition, but those are
10
people completely
different
different.
experiences.
You can't put that into a
Exactly.
medical box.
Generalization.
It
That's why I
doesn't
do not
explain
like that.
everything.
I know.
It
Ladies,
doesn't.
thank you so
The
much for this
time.
conversation. I know, and
you.
I
you so
think that
much.
we need a follow-up conversation because
so too.
Part 2.
Yes, we
Yes.
definitely. I think that we should have this conversation again. Okay, I know that you were learning a lot today,
Yes.
and I know
It's
that there are some
amazing.
things that you wanted to share, but no worries. This is a safe space where we can always talk about this. So hopefully a giveaway, a takeaway. And also, yes, tune in on Wednesdays for giveaways. But a takeaway of this conversation is just, you know, just believe people. Let's start there and take them for their truth. Because chances are that just doing that, even if they're lying, is not gonna do as much harm
Change or
as
something.
forcing somebody to do something that, is not nice, or putting them in an uncomfortable situation. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in. That means that you probably already want to learn a little bit more about this topic. We appreciate that. Remember, tune in next week. Also, we will be having a conversation with Haley-Ann soon about her epilepsy journey as well, which I think is very important too. So we will talk a little bit about that as well. Stay tuned for a new date. I will see you again next week for sure. We just have to make sure which conversation we're going to have next week. But anyways, thank you so much. Have a nice week, and be nice and kinder whenever and every time you can, okay?
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. I hope you learned a new thing or two during this episode. Remember, you can win fun prizes during Learn and Win Wednesday quizzes on my Instagram. Share this episode if you loved it, and I will see you again next week. Bye. Sincerely, Carolina is powered by Proframe Aruba, Neutrogena, and Febreze.